Hey my kings and queens and in-betweens. Welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is going to be on my queen, the woman that I simped for, Contrapoints, the queen of BreadTube, and her scandalous tweets. And I have all the screenshots. I got all the deets, hunty. So I guess I have cool news for, my YouTube career, making big bucks. I'm going to, make a second channel. I already made it, and it's called Gossip Goblin. And it's going to be my drama channel, where I give you all the hottest tea. Excuse me. So yeah, this will be the first video to be uploaded on my Uwu Slime channel and my Gossip Goblin channel. Because they're both drama, and the reason why I'm putting on my Uwu Slime channel is because it's like in the realm of political stuff. But it's also drama, so I'm going to put it on my drama channel too. So yeah, I guess link my channel of Gossip Goblin in my description, and you can go subscribe if you're a messy queen like me. I'm a drama queen. Like, I don't spill people's tea. Like, people tell me their secrets. I don't care about your life. I want to hear your secrets, but that's where my interest ends. So yeah, I love getting into the details of other people's tea and drama and giving my opinions. Unlike the internet, real life, I don't care. But I'm on like YouTube space and real life, well, I mean, like celebrity life and all that, I just want to give my opinions. So yeah, I guess look out for my channel called the Gossip Goblin. Will be linked in the description. So I guess go subscribe and like if you want. Alright. Now, I want to give... Alright, I'm going to give my thoughts on Contrapoints' tweet and the drama surrounding it and how I feel. Starting now. And I also will be giving what other people say about this. So, the Contrapoints tweet is Natalie Wynn at Contrapoints on Twitter. Gen Z queer people are hard to figure out. They're like, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex. You don't have to be trans. Casual reminder that heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid. Alright, make sure I am still recording. I am. Alright. So, I guess I want to dive into the tweet, give my thoughts on that first, and then I guess we'll go over other people's comments. I'm going to be real. This is someone that quote tweeted it. I'm going to be real. I just don't like Contrapoints at all. And then they commented under that saying, and IDKY should pretend that I do. Like someone in their work just... IDKY should pretend that I do. Like someone in their work just to avoid getting slammed by their tiring fan base. I don't care what your little justifications are. I personally don't like her. Deal with it or don't. I love this, like, arrogant idea that, like, these woke, scoldy type of people are somewhat, like, obligated to love, like, Contra, because they want to tear her down by making it seem like she thinks she's the queen trans woman of YouTube, which she never admits, but then they're also like, I don't see why. No one's telling you to like her, sis. Like, that's your prerogative. I love Contrapoints because she's a genius. Her YouTube videos are literal masterpieces of art. And she's a thought-provoking, intelligent person and very beautiful. So I'm like all those very eccentric ideas she proposes and philosophy and all the research. Oh my gosh, all the research she must have to do is... I couldn't do it. Part of the reason why I didn't go to... Well, I could have gone to college if I had to do something I like, but I think they make you take classes that are, like, not electives. They're, like, main courses. I don't know if I can do that without gritting my teeth. But Contra puts so much effort into her content, and just, I love all these, like, woke, scoldy types. This person didn't say it, but a lot of people are like, what does Contra even do for the left? It's like, what do you do for the left? All you do is complain on Twitter. And, like... This person didn't say that, but it's like, no one's telling you to like Contra. But I guess what I get upset at this kind of attitude towards Contra is I'll read other comments. People are like, and everyone got mad at me when I said they didn't like Contra 2 years ago. People are calling Contra true scum, which you don't know what that means. It means you're a transmedicalist and you don't think people... You think people have to have gender You think basically... being trans is like a mental illness that you cure by transitioning because you're gender dysphoria. And that's what... And then it also kind of adds that you're probably like mean to other people who don't believe the same thing as you. But like, Contra isn't that person. And we'll get into like the Buck history. Like, remember when everyone's like, oh, Contrapoints brought Buck Angel, because people accuse Buck Angel of being a true scum, which Buck Angel is 57 and has done more activism than these people will ever do, other than complaining on Twitter. But like, I don't want Buck Angel... It's hard to know. I didn't research it. But everyone's like saying like, see, that makes Contra like MB-phobic because Buck Angel apparently, allegedly, I haven't researched it, said like inappropriate things about like non-binary people. But like also Contra was non-binary before she transitioned. So she obviously loves non-binary people. She was non-binary. And she also convinced Sheila Head that like non-binary people are valid. Like Sheila Head didn't like really understand the concept, and like Contra was there to like walk her through it and like end up converting her to believing non-binary people are valid. So it's obvious that Contra loves non-binary people and isn't a true scum. She I think it was her transgenders video where she goes over the subject of being true scum and identity and gender identity and all that. So I don't like the attitude of people being like, yeah, I told you. Like, this like confirms it. Like, Contrapoints mocking like little Gen Z queers, like, I don't think that's the same as like thinking like, oh, you're non-binary, you're not trans, like, oh, what are you? Like, that's 100% different than what Contrapoints talks about. And I love that everyone thought like, because what Buck Angel did was read a 10-second voiceover clip for Contra. And everyone was like, see, Contra hates non-binary people. Well, how do you know it's an opposite way around? Like, maybe Buck Angel changed his opinion, and that's why he chose to voice over Natalie. Maybe Natalie changed Buck's idea of transness, and that's... And like I said, allegedly, I don't know what he believes on trans people. But, like, why couldn't it be the opposite? Whereas the positive was Buck agreed with Natalie, and that's why Buck agreed to do Natalie's voiceover. And also, I love this idea is like, if you have someone do a 10-second voiceover, you support everything they do. Natalie jokingly had Sargon of Akkad do, like, she was talking about someone and he had read their voice out in one of his videos, and Natalie cut that in. Does Natalie support everything Sargon Akkad does? No, obviously she's doing it to be funny and make fun of him. But like, no one thinks of it like that. But when it comes to Buck Angel, Natalie has to agree with everything Buck Angel believes just because you have a voiceover. Come on, let's stop being stupid now. And this is where I'm going to get into it. So, Gen Z people are hard to figure out. Like, and this is something I don't think it's just Gen Z. I think it's queer folk who think everything like, it's kind of like what, to the point where, you know, when we had the LGBT, and it's like, that's good. And you might be like, well, yeah, of course you like it, like, because I like it the way. I don't think we ever should have changed it. But let's say it was asexual, intersex, bi, trans, AIBT, I would just want us to keep it simple, keep it short. Like the LGBTQIA plus, it's a lot to remember, and I think that kind of hinders the movement, because like to include everyone kind of muddies it, because it's like you're including all these people when you should just maybe just everyone knew what you meant when, like, if I say LGBT, you know I'm including intersex and asexuals in that descriptor. Like, obviously, they're part of the queer identity. So, I think you do the movement more harm than good when you add unnecessary, like, additives. Because it kind of, like, we have to keep up with, like, all the changes. Like, when they made the new pride flag, that was just, like, a color massacre, like all these colors, and it's like, why not just keep it the rainbow? Like, we know what the rainbow means, we know who the rainbow includes. Like, this is just getting too much. So that's kind of how I feel about like these Gen Z queer folk and these other queer folk, where they're trying to be so broad that they kind of ruin the definitions of things and end up like, if I was trying to explain something to someone who didn't have an idea of what queerness was, and I'm like, so you have the LGBTQIA plus, and then I started listing out all these things, and this is what our flag looks like, and this flag represents this, this, and this, versus if I just said the LGBT and the rainbow flag, they'd be like, okay, I can grasp that. But when you start adding all these, like, additives that don't really need to be there because it's already kind of covered under the main thing. And like I said, if you think, oh, well, because you're included because you're a gay dude, like I said, even if it didn't include me, I'd rather just keep it simple than do all this. Oh my gosh, people are coming. 1 second. Yeah, so like I was saying, like, I think when you add too much, it kind of muddies it. So when all these, and this is what I'm guessing Natalie is getting at, is that all these people try to kind of, like, I'll just go through it point by point. Gen Z queer people are hard to figure out, so the younger queers, like, I'm an asexual slut who loves sex. I'm going to put a ping in that, but I'll go into others. You don't have to be trans to be trans. Like, there's people, like, and Xander made a point where it could sound dog whistly that you're saying, like, oh, if you don't have gender dysphoria, you're not trans, blah, blah, blah. No, like, what Natalie's pointing out is where there's people who are like, oh, you aren't trans. Well, if you think, like, a little bit differently, you could be trans. And it's like, no, if you are trans, you're trans. If you're non-binary, you're trans. If you're a trans person wants to be, like, a man into a woman, you're trans. If you're, like, if you change, if you identify other than what you were born with, like, differently, that's what makes you trans. But there's, like, these people who tried to make it, like, kind of play, like, word spaghetti with the words, where they kind of stretch it and wiggle it around, and it's like, no, if you're trans, you're trans. Like, let's not, like, muddle this. I'll give you my final thoughts. It's like, so if you don't have to be trans, which I don't think is a dog whistle. I think she's obviously talking about these people who try to take definitions and flip them on their head when it's like, you're either trans or you're not. Like, let's not make things more confusing. And casual reminder, your heterosexuality doesn't make your gayness any less valid. Like, people will do this thing where I've seen this, where people are like, bi, lesbians are valid. No, you're not. You're valid in the sense of, like, who you are sexually is valid. But let's keep definitions meaning something. Like, for example, before I became, like, all around pan, like, I only like dudes. Like, I never had sex with a woman. I made out with women. I've touched the vagine. I've seen the boobas. I touched the boobas. I never did the deed of a woman. I would consider myself at that time, like, majority gay. Like, if I was going to divide it, it'd be like 95% of my attraction is for other men, and 5% of it was for women. That's it. But I would just call myself gay. I wouldn't call myself a bi gay man. No, I'm just gay, and sometimes I like to fool around with women. And if you're going to be in this situation where you are interested in the opposite gender and same-sex attraction, then just say you're bi. Or if you like everything, just say you're pan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't make things more confusing than they need to be. If you're not a bi lesbian. A lesbian means you're a woman who likes other women. And if you're bi, that means you're bi, you like men and women. If you're like, I don't know how it works with non-binary people. But, like, just keep it like that. Like, that makes more sense. Because now you're just getting to the point where definitions mean nothing. And that doesn't help us identify ourselves. Doesn't help us make things less confusing. Because if you wanted, you would just be like, I'm a person who likes people. Like, what's your gender? Doesn't matter. I'm a human. See, like, that's a billion times more simpler. If you're trying to be gender fluid, trying to be sexually fluid, then just say that. Like, I'm a person who likes people, and what's my gender? I'm just a human. Leave it at that. Like, you don't need to play all these semantic word games where you're, like, deconstructing words that have meanings that are important to keep meanings too, just because you want to be more inclusive. Like, no, just say you're a human who likes other humans. Like, that's the ultimate inclusivity. Like, there you go. That isn't confusing. That makes sense. So, like, yeah, so I don't agree with just massacring words because you want to play these woke games where you're trying to make everything a little bit more inclusionary, where you kind of dissolve the word to begin with. Like, where you can just do other things to make it make sense. So, the asexual slut who loves sex. Now, growing up, asexual meant this, and I'll read it off. Asexual, not involving sexual activity, feelings, or associations. Non-sexual, he led an asexual life. And then a noun, a person who has no sexual feelings or desires, a person who's not sexually attracted to anyone. Sorry, 1 second. So that's what I grew up with as, like, asexual. I think I screenshotted it. Okay, this is what someone who says they're asexual. This is what someone said, which I'm like, if this is like your turning point, okay, mama, I don't know. This seems a little too sensitive for me. Also, blatantly, this is the asexual person in the comments about Contra's tweet. Also, blatantly making fun of sex-positive asexuals as an ace person, that was the last damn straw. Like I said, I grew up with the asexual definition being like, you don't like sex, period. Like, you don't have sex, you don't have sexual feelings, you're just living your best life, you're single, and you're thriving. Now, I don't know if, like, asexually is kind of like on a spectrum where, like, you know, gay people are in spectrum, like, there's, like, straight passing men who will, like, only be tops and, like, not give oral sex and, like, only receive it. And, like, that's the life they live. And that is a form of gayness, but they live their life as, like, a straight man. But they are, in a sense, gay, too. So are they bi? Like, you know what I mean? So, I'm going to give this person the good faith analyzation. This is what they said about asexuality. Asexuality is not about sexual attraction, therefore asexual people can still participate and enjoy sex. They just don't feel sexual attraction towards the person they have sex with. I guess, and then, I guess that is like maybe on the spectrum. Like I said, I'm not an asexual person, so I wouldn't know. So I'm trying to be charitable and take this person's feelings into consideration. And maybe they're speaking wrongly for the asexual community, or maybe they're not. I saw someone describe it as like, you enjoy the physical sensations of, like, say, like, masturbating. Like, masturbating feels good, but you're not sexually attracted to your hair. So, like, the idea of being with another person in their eyes is, like, having sex just feels good, but they're not, like, into them. It's just kind of, like, a pleasure receiving thing. Which, whatever floats your boat. So, I want to give Contra the benefit of the doubt. I don't think she was trying to, like, shame asexual people. I didn't know that lady's perspective on asexuality until I read it. I grew up with the definition where it's like, you don't mess with that sex stuff. It's not, you're not about that life. Like, it just doesn't involve you. So, this is where I'm like, Contra is obviously, one, maybe making fun of these people, but like in the most lighthearted way. Like, if you take this to the point where you're like, that's it, Contra's making fun of me, and like, this is wrong. It's like, I don't know. I kind of feel weird when queer folk can't take jokes. Like, I love gay podcasts that make fun of other gay people. I find it hilarious. Because I know they're not being malicious, and they love gay people. But, like, I'm going to make a video about Q-Force. So everyone's so upset being like, you're just making fun of us. This is stereotypes. It's like, and it's a joke. Like, obviously, and this is where, like, people are like, representation matters. And people saw this, they'll just think this is what queer people are like. No, they wouldn't. Like, if you thought that's what queer people are like, you already weren't going to be able to learn what real queer people are like. Like, if you think someone's a stereotype, like, if you watch, like, old movies and you think, like, stereotypes of different races or how real races act, I don't think, I'm kind of going to be mean for us. Like, I think you're beyond education. Because, like, in no sense is this, like, depiction of real life. Like I said with Q-Force, it's a cartoon. Like, it's supposed to be funny. And obviously stereotypes with the gay community is going to be funny because we're gay people making fun of other gay people in a lighthearted way. So in Contra, one, I think she's making a lighthearted jab. Two, I think she's trying to voice maybe the opinion, like I'm saying, being good faith. I don't know what she really believes. Maybe voicing the opinion I had where it is kind of annoying to see people try to be so inclusive that they kind of tear down the original meanings of words, which doesn't help our cause when you're trying to explain it to laymen. Like, no one that knows anything about queer culture, it's going to be like, well, see, when you're a gender fluid person who is a bi, lesbian, trans person, it's like, those things can be explained a 1,000 times better without muddying the water and using the wrong terms and wrong definitions to words. Like I say, you could just say, I'm a human like other humans. What's my gender? Don't worry about it. There you go. Like, it doesn't need to be like these mile-long lists of what you are. Like I said, when I like tell people I was gay, like, I guess I'm pansexual, but like I have a majority attraction to men. I'm just gonna say I'm gay. I may throw in pansexual every now and then, but the majority of the time I'm looking for dudes. Like, I might like go on Tinder maybe later in life and like, you know, broaden my horizons. I'm not looking for anyone right now. I'm not like on any dating apps. But like, I'm just gonna tell people I'm gay. I'm not gonna get into like the microcosms of like my sexual attraction to people. It's just simply to say I'm gay. So when I see like the stuff with like Contrapoints where I'm like, maybe she's just one, kind of frustrated with how people try to tear down definitions where it could be a better way to explain things. Maybe she's making a light jab, which isn't the end of the world, and like this is me being good faith. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to read more comments and I'm going to finish off the video. This is a quote tweet. Into the Blair White trans quotations, trans people who hate trans people market. We get you're on the normal trans person or whatever, now shut up. I love that's how people take this, rather than Contra just trying to maybe mock people who just maybe take their need to express their identity a little too bit far, in the sense of like they just destroy meanings of words to like express themselves, where it could just be easier said than done by saying, like, I'm just a human, whatever. So I love that that's how they take this, that Contra's the only normal trans person. Like, Contra, like, has such a long journey with gender identity and expression. So I love this idea that Contra was just like, yeah, I became a famous trans YouTuber, and, like, now I make all this money off of Patreon, and, like, everyone loves me, I'm gorge. It's like, no, Contra had a lot of suffering and self-loathing she talked about, and how she had to, like, overcome it and, like, be who she is today. And, like, there was a lot of gender expression in between that. If you're a fan of Contrapoints, you know. So I love how this is their take. It's so bad faith. And it's like, if you just hate Contra, just say that. I love that this person has a brain. It's like, where did she say she hates trans people? She didn't say even queer. She'd even, this is like, I guess, people, supporting her. She'd even say Gen Z queer people are wrong either. That they're just confusing. Hell, they can be confusing for me. I'm, like, about half her age. Honestly, I don't even get why people are upset about this, except me, the asexual part. But they're blowing it way out of proportion. Thank goodness someone has a brain. Yikes, what a chronically online take. I do disagree with somewhat with Natalie's tweet, but bruh. No, she has a point. These conversations are confusing, and many people just try to shout, if you don't understand them, you're a bigot and part of the problem. That is my biggest, because I have to go over to debate Professor Flowers and Bosch, because that's literally how people act. It's like, if you don't understand them, you're just a bigot, and you're part of the problem. And it's like, and this person says, some topics are complicated, and saying that they're not, saying they're not doesn't answer any questions. Be prepared to discuss it instead of alienate. And this is another person supporting Contra. I mean, the trans thing is totally logically true. If you're trans, then you're not trans. If you are trans, you're trans. I don't see how that it could be issues. Some context, the last time she got called out was an involvement with a trans relative. I talked about that with Buck Angel. It makes sense that it's beginning to look like a pattern. No, it isn't! Look at, you know what looks like a pattern? The amount of good faith videos Contra has made in defending non-binary people and trans people. That looks like a pattern. But no one ever talks about that. Like, Contra made such a good point. It's like, I make, like, a half-brain 10-second, like, long Twitter response to something, and now I'm a trans medicalist monster that hates non-binary people, and, like Dexter's, like, queer folk for enjoyment. And it's not the other way around, where maybe she's just saying, I don't think it's cringe, but air quote cringe stuff, and maybe people should just educate her why you shouldn't say that. Instead, they, like, form these attack mobs and attack her and be like, you're a trans medicalist. It's like, gosh, would you just spend this much time on, like, hating Nazis who hate you? Like I said, the best thing to happen to the left since forever. And her videos reach so many people and open so many people's eyes that you can be, like, loving to trans people and you don't have to be rude to them. But no, you get these hot takes. Let's see. Here's my favorite. I hate Contrapoints. What if is this? Oh, wait, no. Imagine being a 30-year-old in 2021 and complaining about Gen Z and how weird they are for being queer and